Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Tensions flare as Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire along the LOC. Medical visas issued to Pakistani nationals valid only till today. India slams Pakistan at the UN, terms it a rogue state, fueling global terrorism and destabilizing the region. UN launches Victims of Terrorism Association Network to support victims and survivors of terrorism. Vote count begins in Canada elections. Liberal Party led by Prime Minister Carney clinches early lead. Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives trailing. Spain and Portugal managed to restore most of power supply after a massive blackout hits the region. No firm cause yet ascertained of the blackout, which affected millions. 14-year-old India's teenage sensation Vaibhav Suryavanshi becomes the youngest centurion in T20 cricket, shatters multiple records in an IPL game in his 35-ball ton. Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire across the line of control. During the night of 28th and 29th of April, the Pakistan Army resorted to unprovoked small arms firing across the line of control in areas opposite Kupwara and Baramulla districts, as well as Akhnur sector. The Indian Army responded in a measured and effective manner to the provocation. Pertinently, the Pakistan Army has been continuously violating the ceasefire violation on LOC for the 6th day. A disturbing video capturing the Pahalgam terror attack has surfaced on social media, showing the chilling moments when terrorists attacked Baisaran Valley on April 22nd. The footage, accidentally recorded by a tourist riding a zipline, shows people fleeing in panic as gunfire erupts. Rishi Bhatt, the tourist, said he narrowly escaped because he was mid-air on the zipline when the terrorists opened fire. Towards the end of the video, a body can be seen lying motionless on the ground. According to reports, the National Investigation Agency has taken the zipline operator in for questioning.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. That's it. Fair lamba karo.
India launched a scathing critique of Pakistan at the launch of the Victims of Terrorism Association Network in the United Nations. Beginning the statement by mentioning Pahalgam terror attack, India's Deputy Envoy to the UN, Yoshna Patel, reaffirmed that India has been a victim of cross-border terrorism. Taking a dig on Pakistan Defence Minister's remarks, she said that Pakistan is a rogue state and Pakistan Minister's confessions on his country's support to terror surprises no one.
The whole world has heard Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif admitting and confessing Pakistan's history of supporting, training and funding terrorist organizations in a recent television interview. This open confession surprises no one and exposes Pakistan as a rogue state fueling global terrorism and destabilizing the region. The world can no longer turn a blind eye. I have nothing further to add.
All right, our correspondent Vishal Baristo is joining us from Srinagar to get us more. Vishal, good morning. We have been showing current developments with regard to Jammu and Kashmir post the Pahalgam terror attack to our viewers regularly. You're there in Srinagar. Tell us about the situation there first, and also give us a quick update on the ceasefire violations which have been done by Pakistan since the Pahalgam terror attack. And this time around, we've seen that intermittent firing, or for that matter, ceasefire violations have been witnessed in Baramulla, Akhnur districts. Get us more.
A very good morning to you, Preeti. Yes, this is the 6th day in a row, and Pakistan has been violating the ceasefire. Baramulla, Akhnur, all these areas, they have witnessed intermittent firing by small arms, and we have seen how Indian Army is retaliating to this ceasefire violation. We know that it's a difficult situation here, and Pakistan also knows it, because the combing operation is on. The NIA has taken the investigation, taken up the investigation. 191 people have been interrogated so far. There's a combing operation, which is also called the cordoning and joint operation of combing in the forest of Doda. That is why Pakistan Army is continuously violating the ceasefire. Their attempt is to somehow disturb the combing operation. So this is very, very unfortunate, and Pakistan is being unmasked time and again. Meanwhile, all seems to be peaceful here in Srinagar and also in Pahalgam. Tourists have started returning back to the valley and also visiting Pahalgam. So a big mistake by Pakistan, again violating the ceasefire when it is being unmasked at the United Nations, and also proof given by India. But as far as the hospitality of the people of Kashmir is concerned, their love for the people and tourists are concerned, it continues. And because of the hospitality of the people of Kashmir, tourists have regained confidence and they are returning back to Kashmir. Preeti?
All right, Vishal. So that was about the current situation in Kashmir. Stay with us. At this point, we will also get an update on the medical visas to our viewers. And for that, we are joined in by our correspondent. But we'll go across to Vishal again to get more on the situation there in Srinagar. In the aftermath of the recent Pahalgam terror attack, India has taken strong measures against Pakistan, including the revocation of 14 categories of visas previously granted to Pakistani nationals. Pakistani visitors to India admitted on medical visa must exit by today, that is April 29th. The visa revocations took place in a staggered manner, with SARC visas expiring on April 26th, medical visas on April 29th, and all other visas expired on April 27th. Diplomatic and official visas will, however, remain valid, with any deadline to exit India to be decided by the Ministry of External Affairs. Long-term visas issued to Pakistani citizens will also remain valid. There shall also be no restriction on the issue of new diplomatic and official visas or long-term visas. Our correspondent Gurmeet Singh is joining us from the Atari border. Good morning, Gurmeet. This is the last date when the medical visas issued to the Pakistani nationals will be cancelled, will be annulled. Get us more. What are you witnessing at the border? Let us get the ground situation first.
Ms. Preeti, as today is the last day for the Pakistani nationals with medical visa to exit the country. So on the 6th consecutive day, it is expected that large number of Pakistani nationals would turn up to the Atari border to cross over to Pakistan. But by now, if we talk about the tally of the Pakistani nationals who have already crossed over the border, so that has reached somewhere around 677, and total Indians who have come back to their homeland by now, by yesterday evening, that is 1120. So if we talk about yesterday, about 140 Pakistani nationals left the country, and 270 Indians, they have come back after crossing over this border through integrated checkpost. From 24th of April, we have been seeing that the number of the Pakistani nationals who are leaving the country is increasing day by day. But after April 27, it was expected the number will come down, because all the visa holders, small-term visa holders must have already left the country by 27th of April. But right now, on ground we are seeing that a lot of people who were on small time visa over here in India, they are still coming up, still trying to cross over the border. And today also we have talked to various people who were here in the morning to cross over the border. They are here waiting for the immigration office to open up, and then they will try to cross up the border. So right now, first of all, I would like to show you the visuals of the Atari border and visuals of the people who are coming to the Atari border. Their vehicles are being parked over here, packed up with the luggage and lined up over here and waiting for 10 a.m. in the morning when immigration office opens up, and after that all these people will go inside the integrated checkpost. So first of all, I would again like to tell our viewers that right behind me is the integrated checkpost on the left side, and the very first thing that all the Pakistani nationals who will try to cross over the border, they will do is they will pass through this barrier where BSF personnel are standing. So first of all, their passports are being checked, and after that they would be allowed to proceed to the immigration office where their all credentials, their documents will be checked. After that they will be allowed to go to the Pakistani side of immigration, and after that they can go to Pakistan. And the Indian nationals also will start to come back at around 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So it is expected that most of the Indians who are there in Pakistan will come back by today evening, as well as the Pakistani nationals who are living here in India will exit the country by today evening. But as per the inputs we are receiving from the Atari border, that there may be a relaxation may be given to the Pakistani nationals for another 48 hours. This is as per the input that we are getting.
All right, Gurmeet, thank you so much for joining in with those inputs from the Atari border. And from here, we go across to Vishal Baristo, who is there in Srinagar again. Vishal, our correspondent, Gurmeet, joining us from Atari border, told us about the current situation there and how people from across the border are going back to their respective countries. You're there in Srinagar. You told us that the situation has improved. And behind you, I see a sunny day there. Get us more as to what has led to this return of confidence among the tourists in the valley. Get us more on the security arrangements or the caution that is being seen in the valley right now, the security arrangements and the efforts that have been made by the administration to ensure that not just the tourists but the common people, they are also at ease.
Well, certainly, Preeti, yesterday, one day, a special session was called off by the Speaker for the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly in Jammu, and a joint resolution was passed against the dastardly attack in Pahalgam. Meanwhile, let me tell you that security has always been there in the valley, and it has also been intensified after the attack. People are being monitored and their movements are being checked by the security forces. But the love and affection of the people never died. Even on the day of the attack, they came out in large numbers holding candle marches and also holding banners that it is a dastardly attack. We protest, we oppose killing in Kashmir. The love for the people will always stay. So the hospitality by the hotel owners, hospitality of the Shikarawalas, I'm here at the Dal Lake, as you can see. It is bearing a very quiet look. Otherwise, it would have been flooded with tourists. But still, because of the love and affection of the people, tourists who had cancelled their schedules are now rethinking and they are returning back to the valley. And same is the picture in Pahalgam. Tourists are returning back to Pahalgam despite that dastardly attack by the Pakistan. Meanwhile, the NIA is conducting its investigation. 191 people have been interrogated so far. There have been no arrests, but yes, a detention for the interrogation. And the sketches released by the Jammu and Kashmir police along with the Indian Army, 2 of them are said to be Pakistan nationals, and their lookout is still going on. but it is a long way to go before the investigating agencies finally get them, because there's a dense forest up there in Doda and combing operation is still on. So we are expecting the things to get back to normal, but definitely the economy of Kashmir has taken a beating because of this gruesome attack in Pahalgam. Preeti?
All right, Vishal, the latest in the developments also include how India has launched a scathing attack of Pakistan at the launch of the Victims of Terrorism Association network in the United Nations. Added to this, we've also seen how other countries have come out in support of India after the Pahalgam terror attack. And we're also aware of the diplomatic efforts, the diplomatic measures that have been taken by India as a fallout of the Pahalgam terror attack. You have been extensively covering the situation there in Srinagar. As a journalist, what do you make of the measures, the response that has been made by the Indian side, and how far will it have a scathing impact on the homegrown terrorism emanating from Pakistan?
Well, Preeti, the people of Kashmir were always with the Indian government, and even after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, things have improved largely, and we had a very successful G20 summit here in Kashmir that was appreciated, and that was also attended by a lot of foreign delegates, members of the G20, and they had a very positive picture of Kashmir. This was after 370, and now when things were looking absolutely all right, this thing has happened. So it was a well thought, planned attack by Pakistan, Lashkar-e-Taiba and its offshoot, the TRF, and we all know that it was done simply to shake the economy of Kashmir, to shake the confidence of the people of Kashmir. But the locals are in all affection and warmth, with open arms they are welcoming the tourists. Even after this attack, they have been saying that there is no need to fear, we are all there for you. They are providing all help, the restaurant owners, the hotel owners, the taxi walas, the shikara walas, they are all supporting, and we have been talking to tourists and they are all praised for the hospitality of Kashmir. So there is no coming down as far as the love and affection is concerned. But yes, the support that India is getting from other countries itself says that India is telling the world that India has been a long victim of the state-sponsored terrorism by Pakistan, and Pakistan stands unmasked and also stands cornered. You heard our official saying from the United Nations, the video footage that was provided to the international community. Let me also tell you that there was also a Nepali citizen, national, who was also killed in this gruesome attack. So yes, the investigation is on, the diplomatic efforts are on, but Pakistan still will have to find answers. And in an interview I was hearing the Pakistan foreign minister, he was telling an international media that Pakistan has been doing it for 3 decades on the behest of the West. That was a very timid defense by the Pakistan government, and Pakistan knows that it stands cornered. But as far as the people of Kashmir are concerned, they are all with India, they are all for tourism, because they know that tourism is the lifeline of Kashmir. Preeti?
All right, Vishal, we leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those inputs from Kashmir. The Parliamentary Committee on Defence met on Monday under the chairpersonship of Radha Mohan Singh. In a social media post, Radha Mohan Singh said that before the commencement of the proceedings, the committee expressed deep anguish and condemned the Pahalgam terrorist attack. The members of the committee also observed 2 minutes of silence to express solidarity with the victims and their bereaved families. Also, the committee took oral evidence from the representatives of the Ministry of Defence in connection with the examination of the subject titled "A Review of the Resettlement Policies, Healthcare Facilities and Avenues for Ex-Servicemen." You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's get to other updates now. Indian Minister of Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal is in London for 2 days of discussions aimed at strengthening bilateral trade and investment relations. In his latest series of engagements there, the minister met chairperson of Revolut, Martin Gilbert. They also exchanged views on the immense opportunities in India's fintech ecosystem and the importance of partnerships with global players to drive innovation and growth. Piyush Goyal also met CEO of the De Beers Group and his team to explore global trends in the gems and jewelry sector. They discussed India's opportunities, sustainable practices, and the growth prospects for the diamond industry. Later, the Commerce Minister interacted with members of the Indian business delegation over dinner. They discussed the robust growth of India's industry and avenues for greater collaboration with the UK for mutual prosperity. Beginning his London visit, Goyal held a productive meeting with his UK counterpart, Jonathan Reynolds, to advance free trade agreement negotiations and to reinforce commitment to deepen India-UK economic ties. In a tragic incident, 21-year-old Indian student Vanshika Saini has been found dead under mysterious circumstances in Canada. Reacting on the news, High Commission of India in Ottawa said, and I quote, "We are deeply saddened to be informed of the death of Vanshika, a student from India in Ottawa. The matter has been taken up with concerned authorities and the cause is under investigation as per local police. We are in close contact with the bereaved kin and local community associations to provide all possible assistance." Vanshika was pursuing higher education in Ottawa for the past 2.5 years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the Yugma conclave today at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. Yugma means confluence in Sanskrit, and it is a first of its kind strategic conclave convening leaders from government, academia, industry and the innovation ecosystem. It will contribute to India's innovation journey driven by a collaborative project of around 1,400 crore rupees with joint investment from the Wadhwani Foundation and government institutions. In line with this, Prime Minister's vision of a self-reliant and innovation-led India, various key projects will be initiated during the conclave. The conclave aims to catalyze large-scale private investment in India's innovation system, accelerate research to commercialization pipelines in frontier tech, strengthen academia-industry government partnerships, democratize innovation access across institutions and foster a national innovation alignment towards Viksit Bharat at 2047. The much-awaited Char Dham Yatra in Uttarakhand is set to begin on the auspicious occasion of Akshaya Tritiya starting April 30th. As part of the rituals leading up to the event, the Panchmukhi idol of Lord Kedarnath was ceremonially sent off to the shrine. Before embarking on the journey, a special worship ceremony was held at Omkareshwar Temple in Ukhimat, Uttarakhand. School children and residents lined the streets to welcome the Doli with devotion. According to the schedule, the Doli will proceed to Fata on Tuesday and then will move to Gaurikund on Wednesday. On Thursday, it is expected to reach Kedarnath Dham. Marking the start of the Yatra, the Kedarnath temple doors will open for devotees at 7 a.m. IST on Friday. The stage is all set for the World Audio Visual Entertainment Summit, or the WAVES 2025 Summit, which will take place from May 1st to 4th in Mumbai. Let's listen in what legendary actor Amitabh Bachchan has to say about this.
नमस्कार। आज भी लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि सिनेमा का असली मकसद क्या है। मैं कहता हूं कि सिनेमा सिर्फ एक कहानी नहीं, एक एहसास है जो दिल तक जाए, जो यादों में रहे, ये दुनिया को जोड़ दे। World Audiovisual and Entertainment Summit, Waves, is the next chapter of that journey. यहाँ सिर्फ एंटरटेनमेंट ही नहीं, एक नया युग लिखा जाएगा। तो क्या आप इस कहानी का हिस्सा बनने के लिए तैयार हैं?
All right, let's get to other updates. Early results suggest a close contest in Canada's election, where the Liberal parties Mark Carney and Conservative Pierre Poilievre are vying to form a government and be the next Prime Minister. The latest projections show the Liberals have 23 seats so far and the Conservatives have 11. A party needs 172 to secure a majority in the House of Commons. Polls have closed across the country, and early data shows the two main parties picking up a larger share of the vote at the expense of the smaller parties. The election comes just 6 weeks after Mark Carney was sworn in as the Prime Minister, replacing his party colleague Justin Trudeau. The two clear frontrunners are Liberal Party led by Carney, which has been in power for a decade, and the Conservative Party led by Pierre Poilievre. Trump re-emerged as a campaign factor last week, declaring that he might raise a 25% tariff on Canadian-made cars because the US does not want them. He said earlier that he might use economic force to make Canada the 51st state. Our correspondent Akshay Dongre is joining us from Delhi to get us more. Akshay, we've just given how the early results suggest a close contest in Canada's elections. How do you evaluate the results so far? Though it's a little too early to contemplate, but what is your understanding of the counting there?
Preeti, what we are looking at is quite a significant turnaround as far as Canada's politics is concerned. You have rightly mentioned that Mike Carney's Liberal Party has now taken a lead as far as seats are concerned and the projections are concerned. However, but this was not the scenario about 6 weeks back. Under Justin Trudeau, we saw that the ratings for the Liberal Party were at quite a low position. In fact, the Conservative Party had an approval rating of about 40%, whereas the Liberal Party had only of about 23%. Despite all of that, in just 6 weeks, Mike Carney has done something that was thought unimaginable. In fact, the Conservatives were thinking of this election as, in fact, a very simple one. However, the kind of turnaround that has happened, aided by several other factors such as Donald Trump's tariffs that are threatening Canada. Canada exports about 75% of all of its goods to the US, and if there are tariffs, then certainly there will be a heavy price for Canadians to pay for their product to be shipped to the US and compete with the American products, at an elevated price inside the country. So the situation has been tense for the Canadians, and the kind of threats that were coming in, the hostilities that the Trump administration has created with even the Canadian government at this point in time has seems to have aided the approval ratings and the results for the Liberal Party. And in fact, Mike Carney is a great economist. He has been at the head. He has been the head of the Bank of UK, and has been the first non-UK citizen to hold this position. So he has also navigated Canada through several economic challenges. So people were not against the Liberal Party. It seems they were against Justin Trudeau and his leadership, his meddling in affairs of other countries, his domestic politics that has been quite problematic for several people, as well as his immigration policies too. But under Mike Carney, the same party seems to have overperformed the Conservative Party and quite significantly in just about 6 weeks. So this is a major turnaround, but we'll have to wait for the result. But early projections are showing that Liberal Party may get a majority. But you rightly mentioned that about 170 seats are required in the 343 House of Commons to have a majority, which none of the parties seem to be getting at this point in time. But we'll have to wait and watch that which way the elections swing from here on and this point.
All right, Akshay, thank you for joining in with those details. We'll come back to you again once more clarity emerges after the counting. And up next, you're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break. But after the break, US automakers heave a sigh of relief as President Trump's administration mulls reducing the impact of his automotive tariffs. Better days ahead for Texas farmers as Mexico plans increase in water shipments to Texas. Aiming to challenge Elon Musk's Starlink dominance, the first batch of 27 satellites for Amazon's Kuiper broadband internet constellation launched into space from Florida. Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories now. India slams Pakistan at the UN, terms it a rogue state, fueling global terrorism and destabilizing the region. UN launches Victims of Terrorism Association network to support victims and survivors of terrorism. Tensions flare as Pakistan continues to violate ceasefire along the LOC. Medical visas issued to Pakistani nationals valid only till today. Vote count begins in Canada election. Liberal Party led by Prime Minister Carney clinches early lead. Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives trailing. Spain and Portugal managed to restore most of power supply after a massive blackout hits the region. No firm cause yet ascertained of the blackout, which affected millions. 14-year-old India's teenage sensation Vaibhav Suryavanshi becomes the youngest centurion in T20 cricket, shatters multiple records in an Indian Premier League game in his 35-ball ton. Spain has declared a state of emergency after a massive power cut hit large parts of the country and Portugal, causing widespread disruption. Spain's Interior Ministry deployed 30,000 police across the country to keep order as governments from the two countries convened emergency cabinet meetings. Authorities were yet to establish what had caused the blackout and were not ruling out any hypothesis after the power outage. Power started returning to parts of the Iberian Peninsula later on Monday after a huge outage brought parts of Spain and Portugal to a standstill, grounding planes, halting public transport and forcing some hospitals to suspend routine operations. In an evening address, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that Spain's grid operator had restored electricity supplies to about half of the country and insisted that there was no indication of a cyber attack.
Lo que respecta a las causas,
what has caused this sudden disappearance of supply? This is something that specialists have not yet been able to determine, but they will. And the relevant state institutions and all private operators are working together to understand what has happened. All potential causes are being analyzed. I insist again, without ruling any hypothesis, any possibility.
Y las instituciones del Estado competentes.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday announced a 3-day truce starting from midnight May 8. Now, the Kremlin said that Putin had ordered a full cessation of hostilities to mark the 80th anniversary of Russia's Victory Day, which falls on May 9th. Russia called on Ukraine to join the truce, the Kremlin said, adding that Russian troops would give an adequate and effective response if Ukraine violates the ceasefire. The Kremlin noted that Russia once again declares its readiness for peace talks without preconditions to address the root causes of the Ukraine crisis and to have constructive interactions with international partners. The White House said US President Donald Trump, who has been attempting to broker a truce between the two sides, wants to see a permanent ceasefire. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zilinski said on Monday that the world did not want to wait until May 8th for Putin's announced ceasefire in the more than 3-year-old conflict, only to be in effect for a few days.
The world believes that there is no reason to wait until May 8. The fire must be stopped not just for a few days, only to resume killing afterward. An immediate, complete, and unconditional ceasefire for at least 30 days to ensure it is guaranteed and reliable is what can provide the foundation for real diplomacy.
The head of Israel's domestic intelligence service, Ronen Bar, has announced his resignation and will step down on June 15th. Now, this came 6 weeks after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tried to oust the security chief. The Shin Bet, which handles counter-terrorism investigations, has been at the center of a growing political battle pitting Netanyahu's coalition government against an array of critics ranging from members of the security establishment to families of hostages in Gaza. Netanyahu said on March 16 that he had long ago lost confidence in Bar and that trust in the head of the domestic security service, whose roles include counter-terrorism and security for government officials, was especially crucial at a time of conflict. The Supreme Court later temporarily froze the government's bid to sack Bar. Meanwhile, released Israeli hostages joined the hostages' families on Monday, asking US President Donald Trump to help all parties return to the negotiations table and bring the hostages home. The plea came on the 100th day of Trump's presidency.
Weeks after my release, I met President Trump in person, and I saw his deep commitment to bringing all remaining hostages home. As his administration approaches its 100th day, I urge the President to continue his commitment, apply pressure, restart negotiations immediately, and secure a deal now, before it's too late. The remaining 59 hostages deserve the same chance I had, a chance to heal, to reconnect, to live. And for those who were murdered, their families cannot begin to heal without the dignity of a proper burial. For Israel to truly celebrate its independence, every one of its citizens must be free.
I am the grandmother of Idan Alexander. He is an American citizen who came to Israel to be a soldier. President Trump and Mr. Witkoff, do you remember what you said to us? Bring Idan home, please. Please bring Idan home and all the hostages in Gaza.
A multi-million-dollar U.S. warplane fell off the Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier into the Red Sea on Monday in an accident that injured one sailor. A tractor that was towing the fighter plane, a model that cost $67 million in 2021, also slipped off the ship into the sea. The U.S. Navy said that the carrier and its other planes remain in action and the incident is under investigation. It is the second FA-18 operating off the Truman to be lost in less than 6 months after another was mistakenly shot down by USS Gettysburg guided missile cruiser late last year in incidents that both pilots survived. The Truman is one of the 2 U.S. aircraft carriers operating in the Middle East. The United States has lost 7 multi-million-dollar MQ-9 Reaper drones in the Yemen area since March 15th, which cost around $30 million apiece. Houthi attacks have prevented ships from passing through the Suez Canal, a vital route that normally carries about 12% of the world's shipping traffic, forcing many companies into a costly detour around the tip of the southern African continent. The United Nations expressed deep alarm on Monday at the reports that U.S. strikes on Yemen killed scores of people at a migrant detention center in the stronghold of Houthi rebels. The U.S. military has hammered the Iran-backed Houthis with nearly daily strikes near March 15th. In fact, since March 15th, in an operation called Rough Rider that seeks to end their attacks on vessels in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The U.S. defense official said that the military was aware of the claims of civilian casualties related to the U.S. strikes in Yemen and are conducting battle damage assessment and inquiry. Now, according to preliminary information, 68 migrants had been killed and another 48 were injured in the overnight strikes. UN spokesman Stéphane Dujarric urged all the parties to protect the civilians.
Our colleagues at the International Organization for Migration has not been operating at this particular facility. They remain committed to closely monitoring the situation, stand ready to afford support if needed. Furthermore, our humanitarian colleagues say that there are reports that hospitals in the area are being overwhelmed due to their limited capacity. 2 nearby hospitals have already received more than 50 injured people, many of them critically wounded. These strikes pose a growing risk to the civilian population in Yemen. We continue to call on parties to uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law, including the protection of civilians.
The technical team from the International Atomic Energy Agency arrived in Iran on Monday to hold technical talks, including on safeguards. It follows IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi's visit to Tehran earlier this month and nuclear talks in Oman last week. The current flurry of diplomatic meetings stem from the landmark 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and major powers that placed tough restrictions on Iran's nuclear activities that increased its breakout time to at least a year. After President Trump pulled the United States out of the deal in 2018, it then unraveled and Iran pushed far beyond its limits. Now Trump wants to negotiate new nuclear restrictions in talks that began last weekend. Speaking at the United Nations on Monday evening, Grossi expressed hope that the discussions will allow the agency to monitor the country's nuclear program and ultimately prevent further conflict in the region. He called it a moment of enormous importance.
As you know, this is a moment of enormous importance. This is a moment where a number of processes are ongoing. In particular, there is a very important effort between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. I'm in constant contact with Ambassador Witkoff, of course, at the same time consulting with Foreign Minister Arakci in order to provide the technical support that and capabilities and monitoring potential that the IAEA should be able to exercise.
France, Germany and the United Kingdom will not hesitate to reimpose sanctions against Iran if European security is threatened by Iran's nuclear program. The French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said at the United Nations that Iran has crossed all the boundaries it had committed to respect and the country is on the verge of acquiring nuclear weapons. Barrot voiced hope that the ongoing negotiations between Tehran and Washington on the issue would bear fruit, adding that France, Germany and the United Kingdom were in close contact with the issue with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The highest level talks in years between longtime foes Washington and Tehran are targeting a new deal that would stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons, an objective Tehran denies pursuing in return for relief for sanctions. A lawyer for 10 Venezuelan men sent by the U.S. government to a prison in El Salvador was denied access to meet with her clients. More than 250 Venezuelans were deported from the United States to a maximum security Salvadoran prison beginning of March under an agreement through which the United States is paying El Salvador to hold the prisoners. Kerry Kennedy, a human rights activist, said that she visited El Salvador to speak with the defendants, document the human rights situation and learn about the condition of Kilmer Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran man at the U.S. In fact, the U.S. government said was mistakenly deported. While Bukele has said that he would not release him in El Salvador nor smuggle him back into the country. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration will move to reduce the impact of his automotive tariffs on Tuesday by alleviating some duties imposed on foreign parts in domestically manufactured cars and keeping tariffs on cars made abroad from piling on top of other ones. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick hailed it as a major victory, rewarding manufacturers who build in America while offering flexibility to those pledging future investments. The decision comes after fierce lobbying by automakers warning that 25% tariffs on imported parts could cripple the industry. As Trump heads to Michigan, the heart of U.S. auto manufacturing, this concession marks a critical step in averting economic chaos. In a breakthrough agreement, U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced on Monday that Mexico will increase water shipments to Texas, addressing a long-standing shortfall under a 1944 water-sharing treaty. Mexico's failure to meet its obligations had left Texas farmers struggling with drought conditions cited as the cause. The agreement, hailed as a significant step forward, also reflects Mexico's ongoing efforts to mitigate potential shortages. U.S. officials praised Mexico's cooperation while ensuring that water for human consumption remains a priority. The deal marks a rare moment of cooperation in the ongoing struggle over water resources. The first 27 satellites for Amazon's Kuiper broadband internet constellation were launched into space from Florida on Monday. The batch of 27 satellites was lofted into space at 7 p.m. from the rocket company's launch pad at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. After a weather delay earlier this month, the Kuiper Atlas 1 mission marks Amazon's bold move to challenge Elon Musk's Starlink dominance. With a $10 billion investment and plans for 3,200 satellites, Amazon is racing to reshape global internet access. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Aadhaar powers India's digital leap with a record 2,707 crore transactions. Massive power outage forced in the suspension of Madrid Open tennis matches. India's midday meal scheme used as blueprint in Indonesia.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's turn focus to updates from the world of business. In a significant milestone reflecting the growing digital trust in India, Aadhaar authentication transactions surged past 2,707 crores during the financial year 2024-25. In a statement, the Minister of Electronics and IT said that the rising adoption comes alongside a record-breaking 44.63 crore e-KYC transactions completed in March 2025 alone. Aadhaar has been an enabler of digital economy, and the increasing adoption shows its growing role across sectors, including banking, finance and telecom. The artificial intelligence, machine learning based Aadhaar face authentication solutions developed in-house by IAEA have been witnessing significant growth. Over 100 entities, both in government and private sector, are using face authentication for smooth delivery of benefits and services. OpenAI announced that ChatGPT is now helping users find products online, enhancing its challenge to Google amid regulatory pressure on the search giant's market dominance. The new shopping capability further blurs the line between AI chatbots and search engines, signaling OpenAI's ambition to compete with Google in a market the latter has controlled for decades. Rolled out on Monday, the update allows shoppers to find and compare items through natural conversation, then connect directly to merchants for purchases. To counter increasing competition from AI chatbots, Google has integrated its own Gemini assistant into search results, providing AI-generated answers above traditional website links. And up next, we turn focus to sports. We will talk of cricket. 14-year-old India's teenage sensation Vaibhav Suryavanshi on Monday rewrote history books as his sensational 35-ball 100 shattered multiple records in an IPL game against Gujarat on Monday. Rajasthan Royals batter became the youngest centurion in men's T20 cricket ever at just 14 years and 232 days. He became second fastest player to an IPL century, sitting just behind Chris Gayle in the list of fastest IPL centuries. Suryavanshi also became the fastest Indian, breaking Yusuf Pathan's 37-ball record set in 2010. His 101-run knock, which included 8 fours and 11 sixes, helped Rajasthan defeat Gujarat by 8 wickets. Chasing a daunting target of 210, Suryavanshi and Yashasvi Jaiswal put on a whirlwind 166-run opening stand in just 11.5 overs, dismantling a Titans attack boasting Mohammad Siraj, Ishant Sharma, Prasidh Krishna, Rashid Khan and Sai Kishore. Delhi Capitals will host Kolkata Knight Riders at the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi on Tuesday. Currently, Delhi sit at the 4th position in the standings with 6 wins and 3 losses. The side is coming off a disappointing loss against RCB at their home ground. However, with the season moving at its fag end, it will be important for Delhi to pull up their socks as the win remaining for their matches. Kolkata, on the other hand, have not picked up their form. With 3 wins, 5 losses and no result fixture in 9 games, the Kolkata team currently sits at the 7th position in the standings. The Ajinkya Rahane side is in a must-win situation, and another defeat could be their potential exit. Play at the Madrid Open was suspended after a widespread power outage struck the Spanish capital on Monday. Scoreboards went dark and overhead cameras lost power, while spectators shared pictures of dark hallways at the tennis center. The power outage also affected traffic lights, some airports and part of the Madrid underground. Turning focus to other updates. Taking a page out of India's midday meal scheme, Indonesia rolled out a program to feed millions of school children free, nutritious meals daily. Besides improving health and boosting school attendance, this program also lifts a heavy weight off the parents. For children of low-income households, this is often their most complete meal of the day. Chandni Vasanandi in Jakarta gets us more.
It's just past 11 a.m. at this middle school in Jakarta. For these students, it's also time to collect their lunch trays, part of the government's free nutritious meal program. 4 months since it kicked off in early January, the program is now estimated to have reached 3 million school children. With meals being overseen by the newly formed National Nutrition Agency, the $4.3 billion program aims to improve nutrition among children and boost educational outcomes.
Mereka juga merasa bersyukur ya dan berterima kasih juga karena setiap hari mereka dapat makan bersih gratis yang biasanya mungkin harus beli, akhirnya uangnya kan bisa ditabung atau buat beli yang lain. Yang jelas anak-anak kita mendapatkan banyak manfaat dari MBK ini. Orang tua juga senang gitu ya.
Experts say while this program is positive, it must be accompanied with a long-term political commitment to ensure it truly lasts. Others have also pointed out that the program might have greater impact if it had first prioritized Indonesia's poorest and most vulnerable regions, where food insecurity is most urgent.
So if we start small and more targeted to, for example, people, children and pregnant mother in Papua or other vulnerable communities, I think it can be, it can have more impactful outcomes rather than you do like at a big scale and like right now.
Earlier this year, President Prabowo told Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi he would send a team to study India's successful midday meal scheme to help ensure the success of Indonesia's own nutritious meal program. In the wider scale, This program also targets children under the age of 5, breastfeeding mothers, and pregnant women, eventually reaching 82 million recipients by the end of this year.
All right, with that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.